Just to brief you who's here, the Deputy General Secretary, Comrade Solly Mapaila, is sitting on my immediate left, and next to him is Comrade Grace Pampiri Botman, who's a member of the Politburo of the SACP and also a member of the Central Committee. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Comrade Maleka, and good morning to all of you. This is our statement on the discussions with the ANC. The augmented Central Committee last year mandated the SACP to convene a national imbizo as part of our ongoing process to interact with the motive forces of the National Democratic Revolution, to deeply appreciate the challenges confronting our revolution. We wish to announce that we will be convening the National Imbizo 22nd to the 24th of April in Gauteng. We extend an invite to all progressive organizations, both political and non-political, with a vested interest in the successful execution of the second more radical phase of our national democratic revolution. Alliance partners, civil society organizations like the SACC and other MDM forces have already been issued with an invite to participate in the National Imbizo, including the veterans of the movement and the MKMVA. We invite organizations with an interest to serve in the steering committee to make contact with our offices for necessary discussions and considerations. On the political discussions with the SACP and the ANC, the SACP and the ANC have been engaged in political discussions in bilateral sessions aimed at addressing the challenges facing our revolution broadly and our movement specifically. Since last year, we have held 3 official bilateral discussions in various forms. This last Monday, our discussions continued. At the core of our discussions are the strategic questions facing our revolution, the revitalization of the National Democratic Revolution, rebuilding our connection with the key motive forces of the revolution, and dealing with subjective organizational challenges impeding our leadership role in society. It is in this context that the SACP is calling the broader national imbizo as well. Whilst we are committed to creating an enabling climate for our discussions, certain unfortunate events have taken place, placing the SACP in an untenable situation wherein it is called on publicly to set the record straight regarding confidential discussions. There has been selective and factional leaking of our discussions, breaching the confidentiality that usually accompanies such. The SACP wishes to state that, as the norm, the President informed us of his intention to effect a cabinet reshuffle, replacing both Minister and Deputy Minister of Finance. We recorded our objection to the intended reshuffle. However, after the meeting, an unfortunate selective leak to various media houses has distorted the facts. So to create a public impression, the SACP is firstly responsible for the leaks, but secondly has agreed to the actual intent or intention into a gangster state wherein public office bearers and officials cannot discharge their responsibilities without fear or favor. This is our brief statement. We will then take questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DTS. Okay, you're gonna help me. I'm a bit rusty, so we're gonna do things properly. All right. We raised hands and then, yeah, we take. So number 1 here, number 2 at the back. For this guy, yeah. All right. Any other hand? Tula Sizu. Number 3. Number 4. Number 5. Then you, in the second round, you 1, 2, 3. He's number 2. Yeah, he's number 2. So it's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you introduce yourself and yeah.
Thank you so much, Clement Manyetela from Eyewitness News. I just want to find out about, we had after the Central Executive Committee meeting, I think last month or so, the SACP didn't rule out the possibility of resigning and I'm talking about the SACP members that are in cabinet, you don't rule out the possibility of them resigning from cabinet in response to this imminent cabinet reshuffle. Is that still the case? Are you still considering that? And did the president specify the reasons why he wants to replace the finance minister and the deputy? And was this so-called intelligence report stated as one of the reasons? Thank you.
Okay, number 2.
Okay, thank you. Sir, it's Robert Whittles from the Mail and Guardian. I just wanted clarity. Who are the gangsters that are running yourselves? Because you say you have the responsibility not to allow yourselves to be run by gangsters. And then I wanted to find out what was the response of the SACP besides the objection to the intention to replace the finance minister. Is there any other action that you're considering? And then lastly, have you had any response from the Inspector General regarding the complaint? Thank you.
Matlhatsi?
Very similar to what Govin was asking in terms of the reasons, but where does the SACP stand in terms of if he does go ahead and fire Pravin Gordhan? Would he be, one, justified, and number 2, what do you think would be the consequences of that, not only for government, but also for the alliance and the ANC in particular?
Yeah, the questions are quite similar, just a slightly different one. What is the basis of your objection to the president's intention? I mean, you acknowledge that he has the right to do this. Is it because you question his motives for doing it? And if so, could you elaborate?
Samuel Omasayo from Jacaranda FM News. In your discussions with the ANC, when the president raised the issue of reshuffling Pravin Gordhan and Mcebisi Jonas, was the ANC united on this matter? Did Cyril Ramaphosa, Jesuit Waki, and all the others agree with him on his wishes to reshuffle? And do you think this reshuffling of the Treasury is linked to his close relationship with the Gupta family? And was Pravin Gordhan summoned back from abroad just to only attend the Gupta court case, which the president applied to be a friend of the court with? Thank you.
Do you think it's fair that the SACP answers on behalf of the ANC?
Yes, it's meeting.
All right.
Is that all the first round?
That's the first round.
Okay.
So it's then it's
No,
1, 2, 3 in the second round. 4.
Thank you very much. The first one relates to whether, firstly, let me explain the principle of this engagement and why in our statement we decided to deviate from that agreed principle. The alliance is a tool of consultation. As you know that in the Constitution, the President is vested with the powers the prerogative powers to appoint ministers and other key government appointees. But because we run a party political system, not a presidential system, we run on political basis, as is indicated in our statement. We are equally responsible for both the successes and the failures of government, the weaknesses and strengths of government and its policies. So we remain responsible for that. We take collective responsibility for it. That is why an exercise of engagement, substantive engagement, is required in the alliance. So this tool does exist. So in essence, out of consultations, we are able to discuss confidential issues affecting our revolution, which are exercised accordingly by relevant structures. That's a norm in any political situation or political organization that runs government. So it is in this regard that because of the leaks, we decided to come out this way because that confidentiality has been violated, not by us, but has been violated by comrades who then creates an impression in the media that it is us who violated that confidentiality clause. So that's the point that, just to emphasize that, that particular point. Well, from our last Central Committee, we did indicate that we will respond to this matter as and when it arises, whether our members who are serving in government will withdraw from government or not. We have not taken that decision, largely because, first, we do not per se have party members on the list of the ANC candidate list. We have ANC members. So those members are ANC members in their own right, full right. There are no step cousins or step sisters, brothers of the ANC. They are absolute ANC members, no step cousins, no brothers or sisters of the ANC. So they stand in their own rights as ANC leaders and members, bona fide. So that's the first point. Secondly is that obviously there's no doubt that you know that, for instance, our General Secretary, Comrade Blade, is also in government and serves in cabinet. And is a well-known leader of the Communist Party. We accept that in the movement, there's a concept that creates the alliance, generally the dual membership principle, which is the cornerstone of the alliance, and of course the program of the alliance, the National Democratic Revolution, which seeks to resolve three interrelated problems of race, class, and gender. So that program continues to unite the alliance and create the process of the alliance. So because of the duality of the membership of the alliance, every leader can serve in any of the alliance organizations, or in all of them at the same time. There's no problem with that, and there's history to that. We can give examples of Dan Klume, Moses Kotani, Moses Mabhida. They would have served in different. Moses Mabhida at some point was deputy president of SACP, was official in the Communist Party, or leader of Umkhonto weSizwe, leader in the ANC. So they serve across the board, no problem. So even this matter doesn't arise today. But to the extent that there's no consideration for appropriate consultation within the alliance, the prerogative is exercised in a manner that doesn't take into account the collective being of the alliance. We may have to engage that particular process, that is what we have started to do with the ANC. So our members necessarily have not yet taken a decision whether to withdraw from cabinet or from government as individuals, as ANC members. If they withdraw, they will withdraw as ANC members, not purely or necessarily as party members. And I suppose that because this matter affects all ANC members, it will also affect the ANC members who are not necessarily party members. So it's not just about SACP members. Now, yes, we don't want to necessarily go into inner detail, but suffice to say, this intelligence report is indeed part of the reason given why these comrades were brought back from outside. And we still objected to that, because we felt that a matter of this nature could have been handled far differently. We are unhappy about it. That's why we objected. We objected both to the removal of the comrades as well as the intended replacement. Of course, even the reasons given. So we objected to that. It's important that that part is noted, because what has been fed to some media houses, it's an impression that we have been consulted and we accepted. So that's not how it is. That's the record we wanted to set straight. About the gangsters, we say we do not want our government to degenerate into a gangster state, wherein rogue elements, whether using intelligence systems, create an impression that if you want to run a clean governance, for instance, you get targeted. Because, for instance, we have made it very clear. Comrade Pravin has run that ministry with absolute cleanliness. And that's what is impressing us. It's one of the best run departments. We should be emulating other government departments to be run cleanly. In fact, for us as the SACP, governance, and clean governance in particular, has become a critical pillar of the national democratic revolution at this current period. That if you can't govern properly, you will not win the confidence of the people. So we have to elevate that particular platform. And as part of our discussion with the ANC, this issue has appeared much more stronger. So we feel that if you allow the security establishment to run amok, to intimidate anyone, there will be no one who will be able to take decisions on behalf of government because people will be intimidated. Now, what kind of a state will we create? It's a gangster state. It's a mafia-style state. And we do not want to go to that level. We reject that. We will not accept it. It's as simple as that. Well, of course, I've given the part of our response in that regard. The question around the Inspector General's complaint, we wrote to the Inspector General to express in 2015 the fact that SACP leaders were being harassed, were being listened to, their conversations was listened to, as well as being threatened, so much that we ended up giving a lot of our leaders in provinces security, just to protect them. Despite all of that, the state could not even step in to help them, but we continue to provide them with security. When we wrote to the Inspector General as well as the Minister of State Security, firstly, the Inspector General indicates to us that, no, look, give us the evidence of how you discovered, what machines you used, this kind of, complete nonsense. Unacceptable. We don't accept that. And the minister knows our views in this regard. And we handle this professionally. We don't want to use the state as through contacts. That because we have access to a minister, we can just call the minister and say, do this. No. We use the formal process like all South Africans, and that's what we did. And after having done that, we did indicate to the minister that we have sent you a letter you need to address to the concerns that we have raised, and those issues were not actually appropriately responded to. You will also know that, for instance, our national treasurer was nearly assassinated as well, Comrade Joyce Mulemurupa, ultimately leading to her withdrawal from Parliament. That's completely unacceptable. So we will not sit here and allow other South Africans to suffer similar fate on the basis of nursing relationship with some leaders or individuals. We are in a revolution here, as indicated in our statement. In the revolution, we don't struggle because we are friends or we like each other. We don't even serve in collectives, whether in cabinet, in the national executive, or in the central committee, on central executive committee of our structures. We don't serve because we are friends or we like each other. We serve because we've been elected by our membership, and we serve because we are comrades. We should reinforce each other's capacities to fulfill the mission to serve our people and the national democratic revolution. So that matter should not actually even arise, such that we end up necessarily using contacts to get things done. On the motives for doing the reshuffle, obviously, we can only speculate. The reason given, we don't accept. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to really know what was happening. All of these things have been put in public. For instance, when Brian Molefe was sent to Parliament, as another critical factor, we knew officially that Brian was going to go to Parliament through the Northwest Province as an alliance partner. And we did not even disclose it, despite that we did not agree with it. Largely because we felt that that thing was going to disrupt the President's State of the Nation address. We kept this confidentially, comradely, even though we have expressed our objection to the matter. And together with Cosatu in the Secretariat, we expressed our objection to that issue. Then he was sent to Parliament. Instead of discussions going on, despite that we objected, he is sworn in. When there's a huge cloud hanging over his head, we have indicated that we respect the rule of law, the process in the law process, which is fundamental. But at the same time, if there's a huge cloud hanging over a comrade's head and that matter is not cleared, you can't give that comrade further good, massive responsibility, like taking the comrade to Parliament. Parliament is an institution where members take an oath of allegiance to the Republic to serve the people. Now, a member that has just been questioned for some transactions when he was in leadership of ESCOM, is sent there to take a new oath. They don't take oath in some of those executive positions that they have. That's why they sometimes believe that they can do as they please. In Parliament, you take an oath. Now, how serious do we take our people if we allow such kind of things to happen? So that's the point that we raised, and we objected to it. We have raised this point again in our bilateral discussion 2 weeks ago to indicate that he must never be brought into any executive position. And all these are disregarded. We find that it is uncomradely, it's not accepted, and our commitment to the alliance should not be abused, particularly on the basis that we know that the Communist Party is too disciplined. It will keep quiet even when we do wrong things. No, we can't keep quiet when wrong things are happening. Therefore, we will not necessarily say we know the motive, but we can speculate. We have raised issues. There's no doubt about the fact that, in fact, in our bilateral discussions, I've got a document here, which unfortunately this one I'm not going to share with you. It's this was on our discussion with the ANC on the 13th of March. This document, mine is 14-page document. Under this document, we have tabled about 30 critical points for consideration by our leadership under 5 key categories. One was on governance, where we were addressing even problems of corruption. Corruption in state-owned enterprises or state-owned companies and agencies like SASA, PRASA, DINEL, SAA, SABC, and so forth, ESCOM, institutions that we feel are critical to drive the second radical phase of our transition and to drive its radical economic content. If those institutions are paralyzed, disrupted by a corrupt environment, how are we going to drive this program as a liberation movement and through our state and political power that the people have bestowed on us? So we've raised these questions in our discussion with the movement. We've raised challenges facing our movement broadly: factionalism, gatekeeping, bulk membership buying. We have said to the ANC last year, before this year's bilateral discussions, we have known, it has come to our attention because our members are also in structures of the ANC. And I think that's the point that comrades must know. There's nothing that you can do in the ANC literally that will not come aware of. It's almost impossible because we share membership. In the bulk buying process of membership, people were actually using voters' roll to enlist members of the ANC just so that they can increase their membership for conference. Now, that's unacceptable. And if leadership, when we have requested it to make interventions to stop this kind of things, they do nothing. Because some of the factional intentions or processes that abuse organizational procedures are people that will support them. They keep quiet about it. You can't run an organization like that. That is why we have condemned those things. So we discussed the questions of challenges facing our revolution and our movement in particular. We also discussed the problems of course, this question of factionalism. We have indicated the fact that it affects all of us in the alliance. If it affects the ANC, It goes into Cosatu, it goes into the party, it goes into SACP, and as well as our mass democratic formations that are associated with our liberation movement. So that's why we have to deal with it decisively. And we have called on the president to be presidential and be above factions. And come out openly and condemn factions, particularly the known ones, those that have been given names. I don't know if City Press is here. But City Press gave the name of the Premier League faction. And later on, the factionalists are now saying, no, this name came from the Communist Party. It did not come from us. It came from the City Press newspaper. So the leadership must be able to come out openly and be above factions and unite the movement. But if you associate yourself with activities of a faction or are seen to be, then you will not be able to play a unifying role at the level of that national leadership, which is the task of leadership, to unite the organization as well so that it can effectively implement its programs. Therefore, we also discussed this question. I feel that maybe it's important just to give you the summaries of the 5 key points. We discussed the question of the reconfiguration of the alliance. That question is still undergoing further discussions. But from our perspective is that the conditions have largely changed since 1994 or post-1990. And to the extent that the conditions have changed this way, the modus operandi of the alliance needed to adapt to the new realities and changes. And therefore, we need a reconfiguration of the alliance to operate differently. We need perhaps to even have a clarity on this question of the prerogative right. We fought towards Polokwane on the basis that there was too much centralization of power outside the ANC. And we're affirming that the ANC is the real center of power. Of course, the alliance is the center of power too. When we're trying to do that was to try to address even this question on the exercise of the prerogative right. That this right is a tool of the revolution. It should not be exercised to serve narrow patronage and self-interest. It must be used to unify and to deepen our revolution, to advance our revolution. So that is why this matter comes up again. So we have raised this particular question again, particularly in the concept of the reconfiguration of the alliance. It's a matter that we will put it up for further discussions, and of course, other methods that require the reconfiguration process. We discussed as well this question of the abuse of security organs for political ends. You will know we have raised these concerns previously. We have taken up even the abuse of the walks. In the run-up to Polokwane, it was a similar problem with the Scorpions. We changed them to try and make sure that they focus on the national priority of fighting crime. Instead, some of them allowed themselves to be abused and used by political leaders. We want those institutions not to be abused by anybody. That is why, for instance, we have seen a situation where there's been an incessant chase of former liberation fighters. You can mention, for instance, McBride, Dramat, and many others. So our comrades can't lead these security institutions because they are marked to fail by particularly operatives of the former apartheid special branch who tortured our comrades, who killed and buried our comrades in secret graves. We reconciled with them and included them into the new democratic dispensation on the basis that they are all South African. But we never thought that when they are given responsibility to lead, they will allow abuse of power and now begin to chase our comrades. That we reject and we won't accept as a Communist Party. Our comrades cannot be tortured by their former torturers under a democratic dispensation. That is why this section on abuse of security organs, we have highlighted it clearly and we want it addressed as a matter of urgency. So it is in this regard that this rogue intelligence unit should not be allowed to distort relations in the movement, relations in government, to mislead political leadership so that they can embark on taking wrong issues. This question, this intelligence report that we now know, I received another one, which I want Maso, to share with you. It's a heavy one. It's 41 pages. I don't know, Maso, how we can make this possible. Yeah, we can make it available on email. This one is from the Bell Pottinger Group. The PR support for the Gupta family. That's what is written. I received it anonymously. I want to distribute it openly. There's no problem with that. Even that one that is now being used to remove our comrades, to threaten our comrades who are doing well, like Comrade Pravin and Kebisi, Jonas. If they have, those that I have, I know one newspaper wrote about it. I hope that they can share with us, like others have shared anonymously. We'll make it public so that the people can make a judgment. We cannot be led by rogue elements outside formal structures who wants to destroy our revolution, who want to destroy our government. So that's the point that we're raising. With regard to whether the ANC officials agreed with the reshuffle, the briefing, we were all together in the meeting, but it was largely to us because the ANC officials were to still have a meeting with their president. We rejected that as the Communist Party. They remained in the meeting to further have a discussion. We do not know what happened in that discussion. But for our side, we did not agree with the intention to reshuffle, nor with the motive, nor even with the intended replacements. It's as simple as that. But we have convened a Politburo taking place tomorrow, on Friday. It's a normal Politburo on our agenda. You can see our airplane there behind you. It's there. So that Politburo is taking place tomorrow. It will definitely discuss this matter as an urgent matter that needs the attention of the Communist Party. Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm sorry for taking too long on these questions. I hope. Which one?
Mine was, what would be the implications for removing Pravin Gordhan for the alliance and the ANC?
Oh yeah. Extremely important.
Can I just also,
Okay.
this thing that if it goes on, I think the issue is we expect him to come back to us. We came, presented, we expect him back for a discussion.
Yeah, you can also talk, it's not a problem. Okay. Let me just talk to this question, Gamatlats, and then I'll allow Comrade Malika to speak to one point. The first one is that, you know, the last decision to remove Comrade Nene, it is said by statistics, economic statistics, that the country lost between 89 to 100 billion rands during that period. That was the calculation of the immediate period before the sense of recovery. We don't know when the rand got weakened and it peaked at that particular level, how much more we continue to lose. Particularly the pension funds, which were heavily affected, because they are the ones that have invested all over the world. And these are pension funds of the workers. So much that apparently, if you were to calculate your pension fund pre that decision and after, you will find a huge difference on the basis of impact of that particular decision. Now, it is very important for the revolution to notice this, that a country, a developing country like ours, with, of course, features of a developed country somehow, because if you go to Santen, for instance, you feel like you're in a developed world. A country such as ours overall cannot afford gross mistakes that makes it lose over 89 billion rands in a period of a month or two. And if people take decisions of that nature, they must be accountable for their actions. Now, you can't continue to repeat similar things for whatever valid reasons you put forward. And this is not to say Pravin is not a minister serving in Comrade Jacob Zuma's cabinet. No, it doesn't mean that. But what it means is that that department is an extremely sensitive department. It must be treated with care. It must be handled with care. We must not allow the parasites and the vultures to encircle it and loot it completely, which is almost like what is intended to an impression is created that now we will open the floodgates for everyone to go and loot that particular department or through that particular department. Because you will notice that, for instance, some of the key departments will require strategic relations with other countries or even businesses and so forth that they enter into to be approved by that particular department. Take, for instance, ESCOM or DINEL. All those things that were delayed for approval because they would not have met necessary requirements. Those requirements are critical. And therefore, the leadership in that department, we need good, sober leadership, not populist. We, as the Communist Party, have not always agreed with the political posture of that particular department. But we've also noted that that department is not a department isolated from government. It's part and parcel of government that we lead. It's our department. It's not some outside department. It's not a consultant to government. It's a government department. So its policies are policies of government. So they should not be made scapegoats when it suits certain individuals. When their successes, there's collective responsibility for the successes. So the positions that they take are within government policy. If they need change, they must change policy of government. Then that department will implement these new changes. But for now, we feel that any action that is taken that may lead to what we saw in 2015, serious action must be taken against those that are responsible. Because it can't be that people can just go and take any decision that affects the lives of our people and they get away with murder. No, it can't happen like that. It shouldn't happen like that, actually. There must be accountability. In fact, that will be a gross nature of violation of accountability, actually. So it shouldn't happen like that in a democracy. So we feel that all care will be taken, will be considered to make sure that such a decision, when it is appropriate and when it is taken, it has taken into account all those problems. But at the moment, we don't agree with that posture that may seek to further harm our economy. And also, I think it is really pathetic. How can you believe that a minister with a delegation of business and trade union leadership organize an investment trip to go and lure people to come and invest in our country? Possibly a group of investors controlling no less than 2.5 trillion US dollars portfolios. These are the people that can actually take decisions at a whim if they are given proper assurances to come and invest in our country. We are looking for foreign direct investments. We're not saying foreign direct investments is the be-all and end-all of economic investment, but that's critical. How can you even believe that such a trip is a trip against the country? I mean, this is the thing that we should not be treated like children, really. And even our people, even those that are not politically conscious, they will read this thing quite clearly. They won't believe this thing. And that is why in a real and proper action need to be taken to avoid coming to conclusions to taking such kind of decisions so easily. It shouldn't be on the basis of the behest of an individual. I don't like this comrade. I feel now it's time I've received some report, then I take action. No, it shouldn't be like that. Sure, Commissar, you can put the point that you're raising.
Matlatsi had asked, what do you think the president will do next? I mean, I think the first thing that the statement tried to point to the idea that we've taken an extraordinary measure, not because we have lost confidence in a process that is undergoing. There were initial discussions, and we have come out to clarify what has been distorted. Our expectation is that there should be a process where we still go back to the table to conclude the discussions. The president had expressed an intention. The party had given the responses. The president remained meeting with the officials of the ANC. We don't know what happened. And as it normally happens, at the conclusion of such discussions with the officials of the ANC, there's a feedback loop with the rest of the alliance partners. So from where we're sitting, matters, we expect that process to still go on, of political discussions and engagements. And we have confidence in that process. So we're not going to invest a lot of time speculating on what happens. Deployees of the ANC understand the processes of the ANC, and therefore they can't act willy-nilly outside of those processes. Okay, let's give the second round guys a chance. So it's number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Is there somebody there? Number 5.
Over there.
5. Okay. We'll come back. We'll come back here. 1, 2, 3. So there's number 5 there. Then there's 1, 2, 3.
Is there water at the back there?
There's no water at the back.
If you can share.
So you can see the trade-off of asking one question each. But if you pile them up, it's
Water.
so yeah, self-regulate.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm Khalang Bata from Bloomberg News. Can you take us into the confidence of some of the names that were mentioned for the intended replacements for the finance minister and his deputy? Was Brian Malifi part of the names that were put forward for possible replacement? And then secondly, if you've said that you've objected to certain steps that have been taken in government before, for instance, Mr. Malifi being brought into Parliament, if as it is the President's prerogative to replace and make changes to his cabinet, if he does go ahead without further engagement with you, will the SACP consider pulling out of the tripartite alliance?
Alvin Sinclair from SACP News. It's quite clear that the relationship with the President, the relationship between the President and Pravin Gordhan has broken down, if not Pravin Gordhan and the Minister, considering that the President has tabled such a report in front of the SACP and in front of the ANC's top 6. What do you guys then suggest should happen? Because one has got to give. It's either the President leaves, or it's either Pravin Gordhan and Mcebisi Jonas leaves. So what do you suggest should happen in this regard? You speak about the 89 billion rand that the country lost over the past 2 months during the Nenegate saga. Is it not time that the President be recalled from Parliament? Because even though you go to the elective conference, and the President has made it clear that he will not stand at the elective conference, you still have a President who will be the President of the country for 2 more years, and you've already raised issues with regards to his leadership and mistakes that have been made, and you're saying that these mistakes can't continue. The final question is around the Browse Mole report. Is that it's quite interesting that you have this report that is coming out now, and back in 2007 you had the report that was almost similar which accused President Jacob Zuma of trying to overthrow the government and trying to become president by support from the Angolan intelligence. What does this point to? Does not point to an environment within the alliance where the state apparatus have been used even way back before President Jacob Zuma's time in government.
Thanks. Morning, Warren Thompson from MoneyWeb. You indicated in your statement, Deputy General Secretary, of the removal of Pravin Gordhan and his deputy. I wanted to ask if at the time or after that there was any indication from the ANC they were considering a broader cabinet reshuffle. We've been led to believe that as many as 12 ministers may be reshuffled. And then I just wanted to understand just with clarity to the intelligence report that was presented to you in that meeting on Monday, who the President said the authors of that report were, if it was indeed an organ of state, compiled by an organ of state, or if it was a team within the ruling party itself. Thank you.
Hi, I'm TJ from Reuters. There's been a few meetings since Monday now, and I mean, maybe you know what happened in those meetings. Do you know for a fact that the Minister of Finance has been removed? And who has been replaced with?
Okay, there's number 5.
Hi, thank you. TD from B24. just two very quick ones. One is a little bit close to what I think Amkhelang asked. You said Brian Mulife was not an option. You wouldn't want him as an executive, a member of the executive. Who would have been, in terms of the discussions, were there other names that were brought forward? Was there a compromise that maybe all parties could find themselves agreeing on? And also, 2 days ago, there was also speculation around the resignation. I remember hearing Cosatu's GS saying it was an embarrassment for the country, that he didn't think that Godan would resign, but there was lots of talk about it. Was there a conversation around that? Was it a legitimate consideration on his part? Thank you.
Okay. Next round. We're sitting with 9 questions now. No, I said you are in the other round. You are number 1 on the next round. Sure.
Okay. No.
Otherwise, we lose track of the questions.
Yeah, and this sneak in right at the end. Right at the end. Of the second round of the round. Tail, a small tail at
the end. Okay. Let me say that one. The main intention was not to expose the confidential nature of the discussions. I've gone a little bit in detail about that, giving you that primarily, yes, the intelligence information was given to us, which we questioned. So that's what we think it's important for the record. The most important thing for us was to indicate that yes, we were consulted and we did not agree. Because an impression created is that we agreed. We did not agree. That's the most important part. So we don't want to go into the confidentiality aspect of that, whether it's the names of people who were raised and so forth and so forth. We don't want to go into that. I think the question about the broader cabinet reshuffle, we do not know that. What we were briefed about was this specific one on the minister and his deputy minister of finance. Regarding the president and PG's relations, we still believe that's the point that they don't have to be friends to work together. They don't even have to like each other to work together. PG is a member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC. So what should he do? Should he not go to the NEC because he doesn't like the president? Or should the president say, I can't come to the NEC because I don't like PG? They don't have to like each other. They are comrades. They must work together. It's as simple as that. We are not friends in the revolution. We are comrades. Of course, because we are comrades, we can socialize together, become friendly with each other, because we know each other too much, we spend too much time together, and so forth. We become colleagues. But fundamentally, these are revolutionaries, mandated by the movement to serve the people. On whether the report comes from the organs of state or from inside the movement, well, that's part of the confidential nature. The bottom line is that our belief is that the president cannot use outside intelligence information for any action that he has to exercise. He must use state organs, which is part of the thing that worries us. We have state organs that are really preoccupying themselves with irrelevant things. Over 21 schools are banned in Vuani. Where were these state organs, security state organs, that could have prevented that? They don't. But where university buildings are destroyed, almost to a cost of $1 billion, where are these state organs to prevent that from taking place or to alert the state that this will happen? They are not there. They are wasting huge resources concerning themselves on matters that are insignificant, just so that they can hype up the president's decisions. It is that rock element that we seek to remove from our state institutions, particularly from intelligence organs. We should not rely on those kind of things. Like this thing that I received anonymously. So it's the same thing as the same approach with the browse mode document. In fact, safe to say, I was a victim of this question when the Browse Mall thing came out. I was actually shot and left for dead because of this thing, that Browse Mall issue. I was shot and left for dead on wrong things. Now it's happening again, although this time on steroids, as one doctor said to me the other day. So it's corruption on steroids, it's abuse of state organs on steroids, and so forth. We have to come up and stop this absolute nonsense that is taking place. We reject that as a Communist Party.
But you didn't answer my second question on whether
Please. Let her get there, comes up.
Let's, please.
Which one?
my second question on whether if President Zuma goes ahead and replaces DG, whether you will consider putting out of the alliance.
Oh yeah, no. Firstly, the decision to pull out of the alliance, it's a bigger decision. It's a decision that will not come lightly, because it's a decision that can destroy this revolution. We're aware about that, and the ANC is aware about that. That is why we've always said our first choice is to rescue the ANC from the abyss that is falling into because of factionalism and all this abuse of organizational processes, gatekeeping and so forth, factionalism and others. But to restore the credibility of the ANC, to elevate its values that have been an integral component, a congruent component of the people of South Africa's struggles for liberation. So that task of restoring and defending our revolution is extremely important. So you may call it our first prize. Our first prize is to defend our revolution. So when we take a decision that may necessarily destroy that revolution, it will not just come, say, from a Politburo. It will need to come from a different organ of the Communist Party. Congress, specifically, that's the highest decision-making body of the Communist Party. Congress is not even going to debate that. In fact, this discussion about whether we should stand on our own or not, it has even nothing to do with whether we will leave the alliance or not. It's just about a political independence of the Communist Party. Of course, it has ramifications for the way the alliance is it's organized. But it's not about whether to leave or not leave the alliance. Yeah.
Now he has lost track of the questions. You were turning the page to answer the next question.
No, it's fine. It's done. It's about those names which we said there's no need to share that. The main thing was to share the principle. Yeah.
My second question as well wasn't answered. It is, you head into an elective conference. President Jacob Zuma is not there anymore as president of the ANC, but he remains president of the country, which means that he still has executive power. Is it not time to recall the president to avoid any more mistakes, as you pointed out?
That's a decision that ultimately the ANC structures must take. Of course, the alliance component, the party in particular, if there's gross misconduct, gross abuse of power, we'll definitely have to raise our voice much more clearly and be able to confront the problem. But we have not come to that particular decision as yet. We are in an engaging process. So to the extent that, for instance, the ANC is unable to deal with major questions that we have raised about these 30 points, amongst those are major issues. If, for instance, in the ongoing talks that we have embarked on, they are unable to respond sufficiently to some of those, we'll have to take some radical decisions.
Okay. That's number one. There were two hands at the back, so 2, 3, yeah. So, yes. And then the tail. We seem to be nearing towards the end now.
Yeah,
I can see from the indication. Makati has also slipped in a note that they are about to miss filing time, reminding all of you. So, yeah. Oh, also City Press is here. Okay.
Now, in that meeting, the when we were told about the President's intention to move Mr. Pravin Gordhan and the deputy. Now, should we conclude then that your discussions around the issues raised on the bilateral are not concluded? And if not, when are you going to be concluding those? Did you get a response from the leadership? And as well, when are you expecting to be meeting with the ANC? Because seemingly the President will have to go in after his man. When are you going to be meeting with him?
Two questions.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Kyle from The Times. So considering the current state of play politically, do you still feel that, does the SACP feel that President Jacob Zuma is still a worthy president for South Africa? And will this be discussed at this weekend's Politburo? Obviously, a lot of developments this week. Can you sort of give us an indication what's going to be on the agenda for you this weekend? And then the national conference, which is in July, if I'm not mistaken, for the SACP. Do you not feel that that's too far away? Do you think that it's too late by that time, maybe, for you to meet and decide on your political independence? Thank you.
Okay. The second takers? And then
It's Govan again. I just wanted to find out whether the South African Communist Party trusts the Justice and Security Cluster of the government, and whether it believes that South Africans should continue to trust what the Justice and Security Cluster is saying.
Tulasizwe?
So my tail question, all of this put together, the picture you paint, if you're using revolutionary terms, sounds like counter-revolution. Is the president a counter-revolutionary?
I could sense. You wanted to say something, madam.
Yes, sorry, Silas. Ms. Mapaila, I just want to find out, did the president indicate at all a time frame as to when he would reshuffle? Did he merely say, this is my plan? And then the intelligence report that you read, or that was shared with you guys, would you have trusted that to make any such decision?
Okay. Any last minute, going, Bloemfontein, at the appeals court now.
So just clarity on your objection to the call by the president. Were you objecting to the replacement of the finance minister and the deputy, or are you objecting to a reshuffle? Thanks, whether it involves the finance minister or not.
1-1. 1-1.
Okay.
1-1.
I'm just going to let on to Tulasi's question. Is President Jacob Zuma a liability to the alliance? Is he the sole reason that the state today is in a huge decline and there are huge clouds hanging over it? And is he a Kutamina? Thank you.
Mahlatsi?
I know you've expressed confidence in Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan, but clearly we are at a point of a stalemate where you have a president who does not want the current finance minister. Would you consider a compromise in the next talks that you have with the president, or are you set on PG as the finance minister?
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The Deputy General Secretary will conclude the answering session so that we also open space for some one-on-one interactions. DGS?
Yeah, thanks, Commissar. No, let me say, yeah, there are many questions. I think they are interlinking with what we have said earlier, but I'll try and be as short as possible. On the discussions with the ANC, it was a continuation of our bilateral meeting on the 13th of March, which we postponed to the 27th of March. The previous one was between the Politburo of the SACP and the ANC NWC. We presented this document that I showed you, and we have not leaked it, isn't it? Yes, this document. We have not leaked it. We presented this document. And after that, we then reconvened now as officials, no longer PB, NWC. So it was a continuation of the same discussions. At the core of these discussions is the state of the national democratic revolution, the strategic questions that we are looking at, revitalization of the NDR, reconnection with the motive forces of our revolution, and how to assert democratic, moral, and ethical leadership of society as expected by our people from the alliance, as headed by the ANC. So the PB meeting will definitely receive a report of the officials from these ongoing discussions. What I can say is that the ANC gave us a response to some of the questions in a written form. But even that written form response, we will not leak it because we don't leak. So they gave us a written response. And we engaged them. The response was not sufficient to the questions that we covered. That is why there's a need for ongoing discussions. We have agreed to meet soon, and the Secretariat has been mandated to prioritize the issues on the basis of their significance. Prioritize them so that a meeting is arranged soon to sort out all those problems. Whether when to meet with the president, of course the PB would have further discussions. They may require further discussions quite soon or not, particularly in the midst of the point that we're raising. Because we also felt that we could not wait for this question until the PB, because the media houses are running with it. The online editions are full of it, and it distorts our image. We're a truthful party. Part of revolutionary principles is truthfulness and honesty, and we want to keep that. And we don't want that principle to be violated, not by any one of our allies or individual comrades. So whether the president is worthy, it's a worthy president, that's not for us perhaps to respond. It's for South Africans to respond to that particular question, whether he's a worthy president or not. The July Congress, it is not going to decide about our independence. We are an independent political organization already. We have been for so many years. In fact, people just don't know, or because they don't pay enough attention on this matter. The Communist Party in this country, for the record, runs more political campaigns than all other political parties combined. The political parties just comment on issues. We run campaigns. We have a big banner, as we normally show like this, but bigger one. This one is, of course, in memory of our stalwart, Ahmed Kathrada, where we show, for instance, our major Red October campaigns on issues. We have run national campaigns on public education, on public health, leading to NHI, on land reform. Our Maibu Mhlaba campaign, which led to the National Land Summit in 2005, was actually attacked, so to speak, or disrupted by a group of the LPM people led by Andile Mchita. At the time, who is now the champion of land reform. We were marching to Agri SA at the time, 2005, in Pretoria. So we've been on these massive campaigns continuously than any other political organization. Our financial sector campaign, with its multiple campaigns inside it, where we're confronting directly monopoly capital in this country. So we've always been running independent campaigns, campaigns against corruption. We're the first political organization to run, not just to condemn, but to run a fully fledged national campaign against corruption. And we lost cadres, top cadres of the Communist Party, quality cadres. Bomba Nchangas in Mpumalanga and Comrade Mushala in Mpumalanga were our members. Comrade Mospagwe in Northwest and others who were victims of this particular campaign, who were martyrs of this particular campaign. So we've always been running independent political campaigns as a Communist Party. We're an independent organization, but we are in alliance with the African National Congress. So we contest elections through the African National Congress. So the July meeting, it's not necessarily too late, because it's not going to decide about our independence, but it's going to decide whether, among the issues for consideration, is whether we can put our name on the ballot independent of the ANC. That even if we were to do that, we are not conceptualizing a notion of going it alone per se. We are looking at working with a wide range of progressive and social formations that share our perspective. So it will not necessarily be a Communist Party thing per se, even if it were to happen. Because the party is not free from the working class that it seeks to lead. It is part and parcel of the working class movement. On the justice security cluster and the trust by South African people, of course, our view is that we have many hardworking men and women of our country who are patriots, who are wearing the national uniform. The police, the soldiers, and others, the intelligence officers. There are many of those who are doing well in service of our country. They risk their life on a daily basis, and we applaud their efforts, their bravery to defend us, to make us live better and safer in our communities. But there's no doubt that crime has escalated in this country. The security cluster is disorganized. I mean, we don't have to come to this point, but maybe it's important that I also raise it. The largest union organizing the police force is POPCRO, an allied union to our party and the ANC, because it's part of Cosatu. You can ask, since when did you see them working hand in hand with the minister? At some point, I was even asked to facilitate a meeting between the minister and POPCRO. It shouldn't be. Those are they are an important union at the core of fighting crime, with more members who risk their life on a daily basis. So if you have a sense of lack of coordination of such kind of strategic institutions and organs and organizations that can assist in the fight against crime, you'll continue to have all these problems, like the heist at the airport, the attack at the Chief Justice Office, which, as we have indicated in our statement, we see a common effect, commonality in how these actions are conducted. But the general safety of the population of South Africa is our major concern. And we think that we can do better. We have xenophobic violence that erupts from time to time. Where is our intelligence services? Instead, they are focusing on wrong things instead of stopping this kind of unacceptable behavior. So that's what we want them to focus on, and we are prepared to work with them. We are prepared to work with them in our communities to fight crime. So we remain having confidence in the security cluster, but we must indicate that there seems to be more attention on the rogue elements, supporting the rogue elements, and the fight amongst the senior officers in these divisions than actually on the actual fight against corruption. That's what we want to see the criminal justice system focusing on. Well, we can't say the president is a counter-revolutionary. No, we can't say that. But the intelligence report that was given to us, we were not happy with it. That's what we can simply say. That's why we also felt that there could have been a further process before decisions based on it or decisions based on it are taken. But we were not, in fact, the big issue is that maybe we have reached a time where we need a real restructuring of that sector. Because at the moment, I don't think it's really useful in the manner that a lot of work is conducted. It is more political intelligence. We need intelligence that can create safety amongst our people. That's the nature of intelligence that we need. We don't need intelligence that everyone, when we walk around, you look yourself in the back if you have been followed or looked after, and so forth and so forth. We don't want that. So we were on the question of whether we were objecting to the reshuffle or to the finance minister specifically. The issue brought to our attention was the question of the removal of Minister Pravin Gordhan and his deputy. That's what we rejected. We did not agree to it. It's Zuma, a Gupta minion. No, I don't think we should put it in that way. We are on record as a Communist Party to have said, we raised this question of the Guptas officially in the ANC last year, January. Having raised this matter with the president on several occasions, and we've gone on record to have said that. We raised this question about the toxic relationship with the Guptas and the toxic or the poisonous impact of the Guptas on relationship in the alliance. And we have indicated to our comrades that they do not account to the Guptas. No civil servant account to the Guptas. No single revolutionary account to a family. We don't account to the Mandelas, the Tambos, the Sisulus, prestigious families in our revolution, the Kotanis, the Marx, and so forth. We account to the movement, all of us. No one accounts to a family. When we realized that they were having an undue influence on the affairs of the movement and affairs of the state, we came out clearly, comradely, robustly, cautiously. We raised this question. And we further said, after we raised this matter to say, let this matter be addressed, we were then told that, no, we must bring evidence. We didn't have evidence to that extent that they wanted. But we said, if you want evidence, go and establish a judicial commission of inquiry on corporate state capture. Underline the word corporate state capture. Meaning that we could have investigated any other monopoly capital that you wanted, or any other capital that you wanted that we feel have been capturing the state and unduly influencing state decisions. That would have included the Guptas. We're not targeting them. Instead, we were met with a massive attack defending the Guptas. That why are we talking about the Guptas instead of monopoly capital, the Ruperts and the Oppenheimers? We have repeated this matter more often than not, that we don't care whether it's the Guptas, the Ruperts, or the Oppenheimers. We don't like all of them. But they keep on reminding us, but what about this one? So they deflect the issue. And in fact, this document that we are going to put on email to you will give you an indication of where that deflection comes from. So we raised this question openly. We now have said in our engagement with the ANC, we think the citizenship of the Guptas must be revoked because of their poisonous nature. Even, for instance, how they are covering the news in their channels this week, it's shocking. Completely factional. I mean, how do you even, of course, because it's an independent news channel, they can say whatever, but completely factional. Even the funeral of Comrade Katrada, they say it was factional. The speakers were factional. How do you say leadership of the alliance going to address a funeral service are factional? We have the General Secretary of the ANC, the Secretary General of Cosatu, the General Secretary of the SACP and the ANC, all of them addressing this funeral, and ANN7 says this was factions. And these are the people that address this one and address that one. The others were not invited. Who was invited? That's a problem. And I think that it is critical that the question of how we deal with corporate capture, including the role of the Guptas, that when we raised these matters, we were not listened to. And comrades, when we were confronted to say, give us evidence, comrades came out to the fore. And one of them is Mcebis Jonas. That's the reason, in my view, this is personal. That's one of the reasons I feel he's been ostracized in this form, because he came out. He had the guts to reject an approach by the Guptas. The public protector did an investigation, influenced by other people who lodged a formal complaint, not us. But we raised the matter. We asked the president to set up this question, to set up judicial commission, which would have allowed him even to set up his own terms of reference on the investigation. He didn't. The public protector goes ahead and makes an investigation, and she now puts terms in a recommendation on what needs to be done. For that matter, creating what we call a judicial overreach, Because she simply says, no, from a brief investigation, she feels that these matters affect the president. Therefore, he may be biased if he were to be the one that actually establishes the commission, which becomes another issue. And it is from that perspective, by the way, that the questions around Comrade Brian Molefe arises. When he resigned out of his own will, no one forced him to resign. I don't know how you work in the media, you know possibly how much a CEO of ESCOM earns. Amongst the highest earners in the country, several millions, I guess. He left there to go and take a parliamentary seat that is worth less than 1.5 million from the many millions that he was getting at ESCOM, out of his own will, because he felt the pressure of advancing state money, because ESCOM money is our money, advancing state money to the Guptas to go and participate in business transactions, something that should not have ever happened. Actually, he must account for it, that action. He must account for it. It doesn't matter what kind of a process is you put in, a decoy process, that you will put this thing and say, no, because we have done it before and so forth and so forth. But the extent to which over 600 million is handed over to a family to conduct business. That is why also in our discussion with the ANC, we have said they must investigate the Tegeta deal with ESCOM. We think that deal must come under investigation. So we don't think necessarily the president is a Gupta minion, but we feel that the Guptas have a negative influence on the movement. Well, the issue of compromise on PG as minister, we have said this is one minister that is running a clean administration. And we are saying a key pillar of the national democratic revolution, that is of our revolution today, of our program in government today, a key pillar of that is good governance. Now, when a member is leading, is an excellent governor, why do you remove him? Why does it even arise that he should be removed? That is why, for instance, the removal has nothing to do with his performance as minister. It has to do with some shoddy intelligence report that builds suspicion on the basis of not him wanting to serve the country. For all God's sake, people, who on earth can believe that a man who participated in the highest form of the revolution, armed struggle, participated in the group of Operation Vola, a very sensitive project that has life and death dimensions from the revolutionary side, that man can simply sell his own country? With PG, I don't believe that. With Mtebisi, I don't believe that. I have firm belief personally, and I guess this perspective is shared by many in the Communist Party. These comrades have served our movement with absolute distinction. They deserve our support, and they should not be harassed. That's our view. We don't think that they should be harassed and removed from office for doing well. Any comrade who's doing well must be supported instead of being harassed. And that's the sense we are getting here, that this comrade is being harassed. And now other ministers, Faith Mutambi, for instance, Minister Faith Mutambi, she writes something yesterday to the extent that we should leave the president to act as he pleases. PG is not a super minister. We do not want PG to be a minister. We just want him to be just a good minister. He's not a super minister. He should not be a super minister. We just want him to be a good minister, a good deployee of the movement. He must do well and run his department well. And so far, we are confident he has been doing that. If there were issues around his inability to lead that department, then that's something else that can be engaged. So there's the question of compromise or no compromise doesn't arise. The issue is that egos aside, people must work together. Simple as that. I think we're done, Commissar.
Muchas gracias, Secretario. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes the press briefing.
You answer my question. Are you guys opposed to the reshuffle or just the replacement?
Do you get our statement?
And the minister and the deputy.
Well, I answered that. I said they were briefed on the reshuffle of PG and his deputy. That's what we opposed. That other one we were not aware. We're not. Yeah.
And just lastly, you said something about you haven't taken a decision
We
yet on what you spoke about at the CBC regarding.
We don't have money to bury you. And explain to your kids what
Get to
happened.
that position. Is it going to be a CPC position, or you leave it to the ministers that are SACP members to decide if they want to leave?
Please, is this yours?
Well, it will be defined by the meeting that takes that decision. Whether this will be left to the discretion of members, or we will take a collective binding decision. So they will discuss that and take that particular decision. But we are not yet there. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.